Thanks, Jody. Good morning, everyone. Oscar Pistorius has been found guilty of a charge similar to manslaughter in the shooting death of his girlfriend last February.
The accused is found not guilty and is discharged. Instead, he is found guilty of culpable homicide.
A South African judge made the ruling early this morning after deciding the Olympic and Paralympic track star was not responsible for murder. Pistorius could face up to 15 years in jail on the culpable homicide charge. The judge says she felt Pistorius acted negligently when he shot Reva Steenkamp through a bathroom door. A second trial will now determine if and how long Pistorius goes to prison. A formal sentencing hearing will take place later this morning for Canada's youngest serial killer. Statements from the family members of Cody Lejabakov's victims are also expected to be heard inside BC Supreme Court in Prince George. The 24-year-old has been found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of 3 women and a teenage girl. A first-degree murder conviction comes with a mandatory sentence of life in prison. Lejabakov was just 19 when he killed his first victim in 2009.
A lot of people that came forward were people that are on the street or ended up on the street for many different reasons, which includes my sister, Cindy. And not because they're not human, not because they're worthless, but because they've lost their way.
3 people are recovering in hospital after a fire in South Vancouver last night. This happened just before midnight in the 800 block of East 50th Avenue near Prince Albert Street. When emergency crews arrived, flames were coming through the windows of the 3-story wooden home. 2 of the victims suffered smoke inhalation while the 3rd suffered burns. It's believed the fire started in the kitchen and it's not being considered suspicious. We don't know what has been discussed, but we do know that both sides involved in the ongoing teachers' dispute have met behind closed doors with mediator Vince Reddy. Reddy recently declared an impasse in the talks, saying the 2 sides were still too far apart to hash out a deal. Meantime, Education Minister Peter Fassbender seems to have softened on the question of whether the government will legislate BC teachers back to work. The legislature is set to resume on October 6th, when back-to-work legislation could then be introduced. Meantime, BC's Premier still thinks her government and the province's striking teachers can come to a negotiated settlement. She thinks both sides can get a deal done before she leaves for a trade mission to India in early October. On Wednesday, members of the BC Teachers Federation voted 99% in favor of ending their strike in exchange for binding arbitration.
We said no to binding arbitration, and the reason is because I, as a leader, and the BCTF, as leaders of their union, were elected, among other things, to negotiate agreements. And I am not prepared to step away and shirk that responsibility.
As the teachers' dispute drags on, what does it mean for the thousands of students who are planning on going to university next year? For more on that, let's head up to Simon Fraser University, where Greg Harper joins us live with more. Greg.
Good morning, Kyle. We are nearing the end of what should have been the 2nd week of the new school year, but still there are thousands of students, thousands that are going into their final year of high school, grade 12, looking to move on to post-secondary, who are still wondering what is going to happen. Well, the good news for them is so far nothing has changed at the 3 lower mainland universities, that being here at SFU, at UBC, and the University of the Fraser Valley as well. However, if the teacher strike continues into October, some adjustments will need to be made. It's possible that a student seeking admission will have their grade 11 marks considered if grade 12 marks are not available. It's also possible that universities will adjust deadlines to make up for lost time in the classroom. At SFU, applications can still be submitted after October 1st. December 15th is when students can begin submitting their grades.
We ask our BC high school students to submit grades after Christmas. So at this point, there's nothing to be done, but if the strike continues into October, we will have to make some changes to the grades that we want students to submit or that we're expecting to receive from them.
No doubt some worried high school students right now, but the message from the universities at this point is not to worry, at least not yet. Kyle?
Greg Harper live for us over at SFU in Burnaby. Greg, thanks for that. The health of Toronto Mayor Rob Ford is still in question this morning. Doctors say it will be another week before they know the results of a biopsy on what they call a fair-sized tumor in his abdomen. Toronto's mayoral election is set for the end of October, and Ford has until this afternoon to withdraw his name from the ballot if he decides to bow out of the race.